What's up everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in. This video is going to be super exciting because we're finally going to get the 240 back on the ground. I'm going to take it to get aligned and drive it for the first time since doing a complete suspension rebuild. This video is brought to you guys with limited ad interruption thanks to STP's Ultra 5-in-1 Fuel System Cleaner. They sent over a couple bottles to try out in the daily driver and in the 240, so huge thanks to them. Before I can drive this thing, there's some stuff that I have to button up underneath the car, and I still have to load it up to go get it aligned. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So first, I have to load the differential up with fluid. Because I decided not to put the fluid in while the diff was on the bench, I got this pretty cool little pump from the local auto parts store, which will make it really easy just to stick it in on top and get it to the right level. Alright, I'm nearing the finish line. Now I just gotta put the wheels back on. As a lot of you know, it's taken me forever, about 4 months to finish this whole suspension project, but the wheels are on. Now it's time to put the car back on the ground and start it up for the first time in about 4 months, which is crazy. You know, between life and reviews and press events and all that stuff, it was a lot to try to keep up with, but the effort's going to be well worth it. I love how simple this is. It looks so good. So the battery, of course, is dead, but not just dead, super dead. My battery jumper wouldn't work. I tried hooking up jumper cables to another car. That wouldn't work. I don't have time to do a trickle charge or anything like that, and I'm pretty sure the battery in this is bad anyway, so let's go ahead and pop the hood and change out the battery. Alright, let's fire her up. Alright guys, it is the moment of truth. Fantastic. So just as I feared, the car is a little too low to get on the ramp, so I need to take this lip back off and hopefully that'll give us enough clearance. Alright, that was simple enough. Let's try this again. Alright, we're ready to go. Let's hit the road. Whew.
From the wall, so you'll see. Slow. Off brake.
So it's finally time to get the car aligned, and you're probably wondering why I decided to trailer it instead of drive it. Well, I tried to get the length of the control arms pretty similar to what they were before, but it's pretty bad. All the wheels are like different ways all over the place, and I'll show it to you guys in just a second, but we're in pretty good hands here. It's probably going to take a little while because there are so many adjustments that need to be done, but it won't be much longer till you can finally drive this thing. So it's pretty cool getting to understand how adjusting all of these control arms affects the angle of the wheel between, you know, camber, toe, and caster. We're going to start off with the rear suspension and get that in order. One of the worst portions was toe. So basically, the wheels were a positive toe. They were coming away from the car like this. So got to mess with that toe control arm back there to shift the wheel this way, but it's a balancing act between camber and toe, so you would adjust camber, then toe, and then work between the two to come to the correct alignment. Well, the day dragged on a little bit longer than I initially thought it would, with all of the, you know, setbacks with the battery and trying to get it on the trailer and all the stuff I had to do underneath. You know, everything takes longer than what you initially planned for. That's just how project cars go. But we're gonna come back here first thing in the morning, get the alignment all finished up, and then take it for that drive. This video is so important because it's the first time I'll actually be able to drive the car in almost 4 months. Between rebuilding the front and rear suspension, swapping in the limited slip differential, and overhauling the subframe, there was a whole lot of stuff to do, in addition to the reviews and press trips and all of that kind of stuff. Before I get this thing on the road, there's several things that I want to do beforehand just to make sure the car is in good working order. Things like checking the fluids, changing the oil, and cleaning out the fuel system. So the car is almost 30 years old and it just passed 160,000 miles. Even though I'm going to be doing a powertrain swap pretty soon, I want to keep the car in good working order so I can at least enjoy it in the meantime. That being said, STP's Ultra 5-in-1 fuel system cleaner basically deep cleans the entire fuel system while lubricating key engine parts. It's also formulated to help with issues like friction, ethanol deposits, and corrosion. STP recommends that you use this at every oil change or about 4,000 miles. All you have to do is pour the entire bottle into a tank that's about half full. It can treat up to 35 gallons. It's also compatible with newer direct injection engines, and the bottle itself can be used with capless fuel systems, which is pretty cool. So to learn more and find out where you can pick up some bottles for yourself, check out the links in the description box below. What's up everyone? So I'm back at the 240. Yesterday before we left the shop, the rear suspension just got finished with the alignment. Now it's time to move on to the front. It's a total balancing act when it comes to adjusting all of this stuff. So the tension rods here adjust for caster. You adjust toe via the tie rods. And because I have adjustable camber plates on top of the coilovers, that's where you adjust camber. But if you have adjustable lower control arms, you can also do the same thing with that. So the way we're getting the car set up right now is dialing in a little bit of functional negative camber, about -1.5 degrees, which will kind of set the car up already for cornering and whatnot, but it's not too aggressive to where, you know, daily drive and highway and stuff, it won't rub this inside portion of the tire quite as bad as if you dialed in even more negative camber. So on this 240, you can see that the wheel is tipped in just a little bit more. It's actually about -4 degrees of camber, so you're going to get even more traction, but again, you're going to wear the inside of the tire even more. Just depends on how the car is set up and what it's used for primarily.
The road always crowns a little bit, so like a lot of people, they'll set maybe that at like 6.9, so it would technically slightly pull to the left to compensate for road crown. I'm just putting them even because it really shouldn't be an issue or anything. But that's one thing to remember is car's always going to pull to the side that has more negative caster or more positive camber. So if you had a car that had, say, 6.5 degrees there, it would want to pull to that side. But if it also had maybe 1/2 degree more positive than this side, it would compensate for the pull to the left, so it might drive straight, even though both are slightly off.
Yeah.
That's why having the caster and camber pretty even up front is pretty important to eliminate having any pulls or anything like that.
That's pretty cool. So I mentioned in one of the videos of, you know, trying to get the lengths of tie rods and stuff, you know, it's pretty similar to what it was before, so you can get the alignment kind of set. And I thought I did, but I didn't leave enough thread here, you know, like you have here. So we had to take the outer tie rod down, give it some more thread. Should be good to go now. All right, let's hit the road. I'll tell you guys what, it feels really good to be finally back behind the wheel of this thing. It's been a long road to get up to this point, but my gosh, the differences in how this hits the road now versus before is night and day. And to be able to finally experience the results of all of the stuff I've been doing over the last 3 to 4 months, it's an incredible feeling. My gosh, it handles so good. I can actually feel the action of the limited slip differential pushing this thing through the corners. It feels so sharp and agile. Oh my gosh. What surprises me more than anything else, honestly, is ride quality. This thing is surprisingly smooth. I've been trying to find back roads and highway to try to compare and contrast. On the highway, it's definitely a lot smoother than it was before, and over broken pavement and rougher roads, the car soaks up the bumps a lot better than it did before. I know a lot of the suspension components that I pulled out were in pretty bad shape, and you would expect the car to be a whole lot stiffer with, you know, the different bushings that I put in and the power brace up front, but it's really not that bad. It's honestly a lot nicer of a car to drive. I'll be honest, in the back of my mind, putting all of this stuff back in the car, I was like, oh my gosh, please work. Because pretty much the entire suspension now is aftermarket except for the Nissan lower control arms, and it all came together fabulously. There's no abnormal noises, there's no whining from the differential, no clunking from the chassis. This thing is set up perfect. The alignment is great, the car is straight as an arrow. I am so excited. I finally see some major progress on this car. Now, we just gotta start working on that engine, hopefully sometime this summer. I've always dreamed of doing some sort of Restomod project. Take a cool old car and update it with modern performance, a little bit of technology, handling, and this is so much fun. You feel so connected, the steering is so responsive. You feel the road, it's just, you just can't get this feeling from any new car nowadays. Gosh, it's just awesome. Well, that pretty much concludes this video. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like below, and if you haven't subscribed, definitely consider it, because there's a lot more where that came from. I really appreciate the support and patience over the last 4 months as I work through this and life and reviews and all of that stuff. This summer, as the garage nears completion, we should be getting into some really exciting content, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Again, a huge thanks to STP and their Ultra 5-in-1 fuel system cleaner for believing in this Restomod project. Again, if you'd like to learn more, check out the links in the description below. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.
Mm-hmm.